You guys like playing slot machines? What about fighting crazy looking enemies uh, and collecting runes? Welcome to Runeborne on today's episode of Tavern Reviews. This game is interesting, so let's see some gameplay and we'll talk about it after. It does have a tutorial that I recommend you start playing. The tutorial kind of runs you through the very beginning of the game. I'm only going to show you until we beat the first enemy, but here you'll see what the core gameplay of Runeborne is. Also really cool intro. So I think the game is really great at creating gameplay in the game loop. Some of the items don't really make sense. That would be one of my biggest nitpicks. It also seems like the difficulty scaling jumps really high. Again, I only played about 2 hours worth of gameplay, and that's just my fair opinion. For those of you that have played a Balatro, you know, I'm on my 80th hour and I'm still like, man, I lost in the first run. Next game I'm on, level 50. So it is, RNG based. It is a roguelike. There are no meta progressions in this game. You do unlock trinkets, but there's no like increasing your primary stats. There's no unlocking things that are constantly on. There are no permanent buffs, things like that, which I think is fine. It doesn't need them. But those are just some of the things that I noticed when I played. The casting, you get 5 attacks per enemy, and then your meditates, you only get up to 8. And they only refill after certain fights. So you got to be really careful and conscious of how you use those. I did end up getting an item that allowed me to get +2 every time I matched up to 3 runes. So that's cool. But again, I just feel like the difficulty scaling goes way up. I mean, the second boss literally has 1,000,000 health. I don't know if that's going to change in the full release. These are just my first, thoughts. When the game comes out fully, I will probably get it and play it some more because it is fun. It is a fun game. I found myself playing longer than I had intended to because I had things to do. But those are my pluses and minuses. The game looks nice. The game plays well. I didn't experience any bugs while I played.
That's a lot of damage!
So as you progress, you'll finally fight one of the bosses. This is Bib, Lord of Shame. He's a very big meatball looking kind of guy. You get a cool little intro, me drip with shame, and a few other things. You'll fight the boss. It's the same as the rest of the game, but sometimes the bosses have their own effects. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. Each enemy type that you encounter in the game has an effect. Some are buffs for the player, some are debuffs for the player. And as you fight enemies, you unlock the knowledge of their buff or debuff. Here you can see once you defeat the boss, you get access to a rare trinket. It helps you out passively. You start out with 5 slots. When you kill your first boss, you get an extra slot. For those of you that have played Balatro or any roguelike in general, this is very similar to that, where the trinkets are usually giving you multipliers and plus multipliers, times multipliers, things like that. Here you can see the shop. You can get access to scrolls and things like that. You can use restocks, which re-rolls them. The scrolls are kind of like the tarot cards that you get in Balatro. They can either enhance or change or morph in some way your runes. Your runes are basically your cards. You have what you saw in the beginning: lightning, earth, light, dark, all those things. You even have special ones that can merge with anything. So here you'll see I'm using the runes to morph elements to change them into different ones. At the top right, you can see what they'll change into, which I think is a really nice touch, because not knowing would be really difficult to kind of learn that as you go. I will say this game doesn't hold your hand too much. It definitely took me about an hour and a half to understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. My second run was much more successful, obviously, because I knew a little bit more what I was walking into. I also had a much better build, per se. I ended up shooting myself in the foot, I grabbed an item that I thought was going to help me, and I misunderstood what it was going to do for me, and I ended up breaking my run. And that kind of asked, that part of it really deters me a little bit. I need it to be more clear on what it does. And it could just be a me thing. Maybe I read it wrong and just kind of expected it to work one way. But that's my opinion. So, as usual, when you die, you'll be met with a screen that'll pop up shortly after this clip, showing you, your run, your score, and things like that, the items you had. So maybe you can think about grabbing them next time if they do pop up. You also unlock things as you play. So when I killed one of the first mini bosses, I unlocked her head as an item. Shout out to the devs for this cute screen. That cat is adorable. But it does tell you that things that you unlock, like that right there, the Gorgon head, will be unlocked in the full game too if you buy it when the game comes out. So if you play the demo, some of your progress will carry over, which I think is nice. Not too many games do that. I wish more games did, but yeah. So as you saw from that roadmap, you kind of get an idea of what they're going to release. Here you can see some of the things that are going to come out in early access, different books with different mapping styles of how the slot machines work, and something called familiars, which I don't know what those are, but I assume they give you more buffs and passives, or maybe they help you fight. I'm not sure, but those would be cool to see when they come out in the early access version. Here you can see I fought Slithera before. I haven't fought Gunkor, so we're going to fight Gunkor, and now we know what his debuff is. HP greatly increased. Mini boss gets their own little thing as well, so yeah. So part of the gameplay is you can hold runes, which means when you hit either cast or meditate, those runes will stay there. Kind of like when you're playing Yahtzee, you can hold a dice. That allows you to set up more consistent spell casting. Try to get those slot machines to line up. You can only hold up to 8. I think there's items that can give you more. As you can see, when you hit cast, it randomizes, and when you hit meditate, it doesn't attack, but it does re-roll the board. So there's a lot of RNG involved, some like skill involved also with kind of trying to line things up. But the more you link, obviously, the more attack damage you do. So and the second big boss, Naxxus, Devourer of Hope. Dude has 1,000,000 health. I've been watching you, savoring you. Now it's time to devour. Very cool intro. Yeah, I like the game. It has a lot of fun things. I think things need to be explained a little bit better. I feel like some of the times I'm just kind of lost. I don't really understand how the runes work and everything. But shout out to the dev team, iDream Interactive, for giving me a key to play the game. Overall, I give the game a 3.5 out of 5. I think the game is fun. I just think there needs to be a little bit more tweaks here and there, but it is a really fun game, and I'll catch you guys on the next review. Thank you.